everybody, I'm Bree the Plant Lady, checking in with my last weekly garden tour for 2021. And I'm starting out here at the street to show off this absolutely spectacular Prunus subhirtilla variety autumnalis rosea, which is in full bloom right now in the last part of December. And I can't wait to show you all of the things that have started to bloom here in my Zone 7 Central North Carolina garden. So let's go on a tour. As you can see, this prunus is in full bloom, and it's supposed to be. This is totally normal, it's not early. This is the advantage of growing this variety because it blooms generally in late fall, early winter, like right now, late December, and then it'll bloom again in a few months in the spring before it gets its leaves. And there's a variety just called autumnalis, and that's white. This is autumnalis rosea because of the pink flowers. And I have brought some of these in to make beautiful fresh flower arrangements for my dining room table to ring in the new year. Now, in general, the shrub border doesn't have a lot going on in the midwinter season, but between that prunus and this winter honeysuckle, this is Lonicera purpussii winter's fragrance, and it's a wonderfully fragrant bush honeysuckle. It can be a little bit invasive. You can see the way I manage mine, every couple of years I do a really hard prune. You can see I've cut big branches back, and that way I can maintain it at this size. And if I see any suckering, I go through and, cut those suckers off. That way it won't spread all around. This is another wonderful plant to bring in as a cut for arrangements, and it'll make your entire house super fragrant. It's quite wonderful. More trees are in full bloom. The Prunus mume. This is what we used to sell at Camellia Forest as double pink fruiting. And last year it did fruit very heavily. If you watch my videos, you'll see the fruiting is actually kind of a problem. It's really hard to capture the color of this because of these gray skies. It's kind of drizzly today. But I think this is actually bonita. And unfortunately, I've limbed this way up. You see, like there's no lower branches. And it's really hard to get to cut these for using in flower arrangements. But the Prunus mume are so fragrant. This has a cinnamon scent. And when it's not raining, it's completely covered in bees. And I do see a few bees up there, but yesterday when it was sunny, it was just a constant buzz. Now in this same border, I have another Prunus mume here. This is the weeping variety called Bridal Veil, and it's just starting to open. And this is really nice when you lay in the hammock, which almost never happens, but to look up at these beautiful soft pink flowers. And obviously these are, pendulous branches. Another great plant to use for cuts in flower arrangements. Another wonderful prunus. This is Prunus incisa, and I think this is Kojo no Mai. And this has been blooming for a few weeks. And these are just the sweetest little flowers on here. And I really like the pink calyx because that kind of gives it some extra interest. As a native Midwesterner, I still get super excited about having things in bloom at this time of year. And even 20 years here in Zone 7, it never gets old. And I also love zone bending, as I frequently refer in my videos. And one plant I'm really excited to see is doing so well is the olive. Now, back at Thanksgiving, I actually collected olives from my parents' olive tree. Now they're a zone warmer than me. They're in a very warm zone 8 in Aiken, South Carolina. And I actually propagated this from cutting, like a tip cutting about 10 years ago. And I'm so happy, you know, you can see how well it's doing. I originally grew it in a container and it's been planted in the ground now for, I think, going on 3 years. And, you know, it's taller than me. So that's exciting, that's progress. And maybe soon, next year, I'll get some olives of my own, and I definitely plan on brining them so that they will actually be edible. Because right off the bush, they don't taste very good. So the winter sweet is just about finished, but this certainly was the first to sort of usher in the season of winter flowers. And of course the camellias just keep on going. Here is Camellia Brie, which has been in bloom for over a month, and there's still buds to open. As we come along here, I was so excited to see my Prunus Mume Matsuburo Red is in full flower. And of course you can't see it at all against this dreary gray sky, but it's bright, not quite red, it's more like bright pink. I'm gonna try and get up closer to it for you. There we go. You can see it's just absolutely loaded in flowers. And this smells like big red chewing gum. It's just super cinnamon fragranced. Next to that is Magnolia stellata, which has a ton of fuzzy flower buds. None of these are open yet, but I've been looking at pictures of past years and we have actually had this in bloom in late December some years. So everybody keeps saying this year is so weird. It's actually pretty. We can be really cold, we can have snow, we can be really warm, just like we have been this year. There's a lot of inconsistencies in the North Carolina weather that you really can't even compare year to year. Here on the patio, all the pots are doing well. And I made some pretty floating flower arrangements yesterday. There's my first October affair, Camellia japonica in bloom. And my Weston Farms wreath, which is exquisite, and it'll actually dry. I'm gonna store this actually in the attic and use it again next year. I'll be able to add some gold and silver spray paint and jazz it up. We haven't had any frost for over a week, so I've had a lot of the plants out of the shed, and we'll be putting these back in, I guess, Sunday. Yeah, Sunday, because I think we start to get more winter-like temperatures starting Monday. Now, I swear I planted kohlrabi here. Obviously I didn't. It's broccoli, which is great. You can see cabbage worms have been super busy, and I have not been out putting BT on the plants, and I really need to. And this is a good reminder. These aren't quite ready to be harvested. They're really small. But I always soak my brassica crops in water with a little bit of white vinegar, because that will bring all of the worms out. It's not the greatest feeling to bite into a cabbage worm. I've done it too many times. So that's why I always soak. And wow, these poppies have grown so much. This is definitely a successful patch here. Very pleased to see this. And that Ms. America mustard just continues to be so pretty. And it's quite tasty, but it is spicy, so you don't have to use a lot of it in a salad to get the flavor. And I wanted to show you guys how I often say, like, poppies will never grow where you want them to grow. And here's a prime example. You can see how big they've gotten. They're all along the edge, and that's because that is an area that was not disturbed. There's very few that are actually growing in the bed itself. Yes, it's annoying, just recognize that this is how it works, and you can't transplant them because they have a taproot and they will not grow. So this is a really dumb place because that's my walkway. But I think I'm gonna give the walkway to the poppies. As any poppy lover would do. And all the rest of the crops here, the broccoli and cabbage, are growing well. The worms have definitely done their job. They're voracious eaters. You can spot the poo pretty easily. And I definitely do need to come out. Oh, here's the worm. Sorry if that grosses you out. I can't help myself. So I will have a ton of broccoli ready all at once. And the way I deal with that, I just blanch it and freeze it. That way it doesn't get wasted and I'll get to enjoy eating it for a long period of time. I don't know what it was about this year because all of these were seeded and planted at different times so that I would have a staggered harvest, but they're all developing and probably going to be harvested within like the same week or two. So that's just how it goes. Thought I'd show you my back porch. I've not taken down Christmas, but I'm on the verge of doing it. And I have been getting the poinsettias out because we've been frost free. They do fine outside. Now, when we get back to freezing temperatures, these will either have to come in or get tossed, and they're gonna get tossed. I'm not gonna try and overwinter poinsettias, but they sure have been pretty. I know these aren't the most impressive flowers, but this is a wonderful species camellia. This is Camellia griegii. And the reason it's so extraordinary is look at all of the flower buds. You know, this is a plant that just has massive flowering. And it's planted in a totally stupid place right here, literally right next to the house. I mean, I cram stuff so crazily. And when we had the house painted last year, I had to cut this basically to the ground, and this is what's regrown. So that's why I'm determined on the garden in the next door property, which we'll take a walk over to, there won't be any gardens touching the house, and that's just for ease of maintenance long term. Now you might be wondering, what is that amazing splash of yellow? And no, that is not a forsythia. That is Jasminum nudiflorum. And this is a normal time for it to be blooming. And you can see it's just spectacular. I love this plant. It's definitely a plant though that is gonna take up some space. So, you know, put it in an area where you don't want to micromanage, and it'll, you know, it'll sort of slowly run. Maybe slowly isn't the right word. Full sun is best. It will grow in some shade, but can't beat it for these brilliant yellow flowers that just brighten a gray, dreary day. So what else is blooming? Well, of course, camellias are in flower. And here is the October Magic Bride, which is a wonderful sasanqua. But much to my surprise, blooming next to it is an echinacea. This is Pretty Parasols that has just continued all year long. This is truly a remarkable echinacea. Now, I did have big plans today to come out and start getting this cleaned up, and it may just be wet enough that I won't motivate to do it, but I really need to do it. I'm tired of showing you guys this unkept bed. But I do want to show you the progress of all of these self-sown. These are all larkspur in here. There's some nigella mixed in as well, and there's some poppies. So I'm not really going to have to do much seeding in this bed, and I have a ton of seed still. So maybe that will be my motivation for creating some sort of bed in this vast lawn space of the next door house. Speaking of which, the house is looking awesome. The exterior has been painted and the gutters are on, and you can really see that modern farmhouse influence here. I am on the schedule for getting all of these undesirable trees removed, especially this Bradford pear. And let's just take a quick peek inside, because we have gotten some furniture in, and we actually had our first overnight visitors last night. There is no working shower, but there is a toilet and a sink. We have a lot to do still. I do have the exterior lights, and I have fancy new sunshine doorbell ringers. Let's come in. You can see we have stashed some furniture so that it's an easy place to hang out in. Obviously, the kitchen is a work in progress. We're really excited about having a gas stove. We've had a lot of holiday celebrations in here. I've just cleaned this out to put it away. With the spread of Omicron, I think our days of entertaining are kind of over for a little while. Into what will be my office. We have a lot of furniture, pictures stashed in here. This is set up as the spare bedroom. Last thing we did was get some curtains hung. This is east facing. It's a bright room. And in here, they keep sending the wrong hardware for the shower doors, which is why the showers aren't running. But we do have a working toilet and a sink. So it's a bit more like an actual house now. Back outside, we've got Prunus mume pink panther in bud, but I don't see any flowers open yet. This is usually my last one to bloom. I'm sorry the lighting is so bad that you really can't see. But be sure to follow me on Instagram. I'm Bree the Plant Lady, because I will definitely be posting pictures of these when they do flower. And over here, you might be looking and saying, oh my gosh, is that citrus? And yes, it is. It's my first fruit from this quite vicious hardy citrus, which I got from the Ralston Arboretum. And I have never eaten it. I've heard it's very bitter. And to be honest, I just need to get a ladder and grab those. I think you can make marmalade from them. But this is, I call it vicious because it has these insane thorns. You see those? And they hurt. Oh boy, do they ever hurt. Here in my work zone, my most spectacular Edgeworthia, which was a rooted cutting, and I potted it, and then it rooted into the ground. You can see it still has the pot. It's by far my healthiest plant, and it has just started to flower, and even with just a few buds open, it smells magnificent. But this is a big plant. You can see there's thousands of flowers. It's really going to be remarkable when they all are full bloom. So my last garden tour, none were open. Today, the last tour of 2021, we do have Edgeworthia in bloom. Into the messy woodland. You can see the remnants of the Seminole pumpkin, which I have been eating a lot of. And let's check to see these Edgeworthias. So first, important comparison, Edgeworthia chrysantha, Edgeworthia papifera. I think the jury is still out on whether it's a species or a variant. I call it Edgeworthia papifera. Everything on this plant is smaller. You see the flower buds are smaller, the stems are smaller, its overall stature is much smaller. and then compare it. I planted these like this on purpose, so it'd be really easy for people to see the difference. We've got Edgeworthia chrysantha snow cream, which is probably the most commonly grown variety, which is the same that is planted by the black shed. And here, this flower is even more advanced. And the fragrance, if you're not familiar, the fragrance is like a sweet honey scent. It's just wonderful. And all of these are flower buds, so when they're in full bloom, they look like big balls of sunshine. It's really a wonderful plant. If you live in zone 7 to 9, you really should be growing Edgeworthia. Of course, behind that is a no-label camellia, which absolutely has a name, I just don't know it. And you can see my crimson candles is way ahead of schedule. This is usually blooming in the middle of February. This is a great hybrid camellia from Dr. Parks of Camellia Forest. The flowers are single, but you see how many flowers there will be. It's just a really, really terrific plant. More camellias in bloom over here. I've shown you this Igao 4 Seasons before, and here it's just the sweetest little, not little, it's a beautiful camellia flower. And then here is Sadahara O. And this is from Bobby Green. It's a seedling off of a Tama. The Tama series all have this sort of white edge to the flowers. Now, a broccoli update. You can see the little heads forming. Like I said, I'm gonna have a ton of broccoli to deal with probably all at once, which was not my plan, but best laid plans. Ooh, that's a nice head forming there. How pretty. Of course, more broccoli here in these 100-gallon root pouch bags filled with soil cube. These have done really well. They're really growing a lot. So I do love broccoli. I have a feeling I'll just binge eat broccoli for a while. I do love it fresh. This one, this is where that zucchini kept growing and growing. I've planted some celery in here and another round of broccoli. All of these are just sort of at different stages. The kohlrabi, which I forgot to harvest, this one is looking great. I'm gonna go ahead and harvest this one today because it's the perfect kohlrabi. These others haven't really developed the bulky stem yet, and I don't know that they will. I think that's temperature related. That's okay. It reminds me of my grandfather. That's the main reason I grow it. Also because I love to eat it. And Prunus Mume Josephine is just starting to open its flowers. This is a very, very soft pink, almost white Prunus Mume. It has a very floral scent. It's a big tree. Some crazy water sprouts have developed. You can see how big this is. This was a cutting that I stuck back in, I think, 2010. So, you know, they grow really fast. Now, everybody's always asking, where do you buy these? And my suggestion to you is to start Googling. First of all, I have no idea what your local garden centers sell, and I can't keep up with the inventory of online nurseries. So just Google it. I'm sure you'll find somewhere that has some Prunus Mumes. It's a really, really wonderful tree. Well, Cubby and I are gonna go harvest some arugula for a healthy homegrown lunch. And I am wishing you and your friends and family all the best going into 2022. Please stay safe and stay healthy and be kind to all the people that you encounter. This is a very strange era for humanity, and if nothing else, at least gardening can bring each of us a little bit of joy. And I hope that you've enjoyed this tour today featuring all the beautiful things in flower here in my Central North Carolina Zone 7 garden. Happy New Year, everybody!